Everybody, welcome to the Dixon. My name's Julie Perotti and I am the curator here. And when you come to visit the Dixon, we require that you wear masks, but since it's just you and me in here, I'm going to take my mask off so you can hear me better. Okay, so like I said, I'm Julie, I'm the curator here, and I am so happy to welcome you to the Dixon. For those of you who haven't visited us yet, we are a museum and public garden here in East Memphis. We're right at Park and Cherry, and we have been around for 45 years. This is our 45th anniversary year. We are the fruition of the vision of our founders, Margaret and Hugo Dixon. The Dixons were really visionary philanthropists here in Memphis and passionate collectors of French Impressionism and Post-Impressionism. So those styles form the core of our collection, though we've grown over the years from our original 28 works of art that the Dixons left us to more than 2,000 objects today. So I hope you will come visit us. This summer is actually the perfect time to come, because we are shaking things up a little bit. You know, most of you know us for our Impressionism, but this summer, as you see around me, we are exploring Memphis contemporary art through this wonderful exhibition called Memphis 2021. So we are taking a look at the variety, the brilliancy, and really the joy of art in Memphis. So we have 20 artists represented in this exhibition. So that's, a lot of different artists, but I really feel like the show is cohesive. It has really come together as an exhibition that celebrates the vibrancy of our own arts community. So I thought we'd walk around the exhibition a little bit and talk about the artists that are in the show and the styles of art that the artists here in Memphis are making. So come along with me and we'll take a little spin around the galleries. So in addition to paintings and works on paper and textiles in this exhibition, we also have sculpture and wood relief sculpture by May Hour. May is a Memphis native who's actually garnering a national reputation for her wooden relief sculptures like Aging Remedy that's behind us. May commonly takes icons from world history really and reinterprets them through her 21st century eye. Okay, so this is her fountain of youth, Aging Remedy, and what we're looking at is actually individual pieces of wood that she's sanded down. They're so smooth, they're like velvet, really, or like leather. They have a real smooth texture to them, and paints them and kind of puts them together almost like a puzzle and creates these really engaging, visually seductive works of art. Her Fountain of Youth, May's Fountain of Youth, actually has a sound element to it. So there is, if you stand pretty close to it, you can hear kind of the trickle of water coming behind it too. Her work is really engaging. It's really clever and fun. And we're very proud to be showing her work here at the Dixon this summer. So I'm standing in front of Alex Paulus's paintings here in the Plow Gallery at the Dixon. Alex is such a great guy. He's really fun and funny and charming and witty, really, and that definitely comes through in his work. Alex's paintings also have a real strong element of nostalgia in them, and you can see that in things like the bouncy castle that's behind me, and of course Plinko. Those of you who, when you were sick as a kid, spent the day at your grandmother's house watching Price is Right will remember Plinko. So I think that those elements of nostalgia help us as viewers connect with his works of art, and then you really get to spend time with them and see the humor in them and also the technical skill that Alex's work displays. One of the things I'm really proud about with this exhibition is the number of art educators that we have represented in here. So in addition to being a painter, Alex is also head of the art department at Southwest. And so I think that's really exciting to see these artists who are really talented and clever and fun, training our next generation of artists in Memphis. So when we do Memphis 2031, we have artists like Alex Paulus to thank for that. So I thought it would be fun to look at one of Alex's paintings up close, just to kind of tease you into coming to see the show. This painting is called His is Better Than His. And here is these two kind of stranded vacationers. So a lot of Alex's paintings take place in these really kind of ideal settings, really exotic locales. So we have all these palm trees here and everything, and this beautiful picturesque mountain in the distance. But these two men here are stranded and trying to call for help. So here's this guy's kind of proud of his little SOS here, and then he looks over and his friend has made one that's much bigger. So it's just that little bit of humor that Alex incorporates into all of his work. But also I really love the texture of his paintings. When you get to the palm trees here, it almost looks like they've been, finger painted. They have that real thick, buttery impasto to them. And then kind of the smoother texture of the painting above. So there's a nice contrast in his paintings that I really find visually appealing. One of my favorite things about Memphis 2021 is a lot of the work is big. So we have a lot of large scale works of art, which for us is really kind of unusual because if you think about Impressionist paintings, usually they're kind of easel size. So it's really, really fun for us to have large works of art in here. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about the two painters that I have behind me. Over here we have Frances Berry. Frances started out as a photographer. That's how I first came to know her, but she switched to painting a few years ago, and I really love what she's doing. A lot of her work is, I think influenced by urban art, by graffiti, and that comes through in her work, but she uses that style, that kind of rougher style of painting to interpret kind of classically feminine subjects. So you see floral still life, female nudes. Subjects like that pop up in her work, but it gets translated through this really kind of urban graffiti influenced style of painting. And Frances is a great artist for you all to get to know. I encourage you with all of the artists in this exhibition, look them up. Most of them have social media accounts that you can follow and really engage with their work that way and support them. Over here, we have another artist that we love having here in Memphis. His name is Roger Cleves. Roger's a really good guy, and his work is really unique, okay? Roger also writes fiction, and he creates kind of serialized works of art, so almost like comic strips. And that practice of his really shows up in his work. So you see symbols, cartoon-like symbols that appear in his paintings. A lot of times they're kind of ominous. His work is really influenced by the Afrofuturism movement, which is a movement among Black artists and writers that instead of exploring their past experiences, they're looking toward the future. And a lot of times that future is kind of influenced by science fiction, so things are always a little weird in those types of paintings, and I think in Roger's works you can see that as well. So there's these kind of fantastical creatures that populate his paintings. Symbols like storm clouds or rainbows with funny colors to them are often appear in his work as well. There's a lot going on. So this is kind of maximalism at its best. There's no empty spaces in Roger's painting. So there's a lot to see. And we have four really great examples of his work on view in Memphis 2021. So one of the artists that we have represented in the show is Mary Kay Van Giesen. Mary Kay was an art educator here in Memphis for a long time, so if any of you went to Kirby High School or Germantown High School, you might recognize the name. Mary Kay is a really multifaceted artist, and I love that about her. She explores printmaking, sculpture, book arts, writing, all different approaches to art making. We have her garden tools on view in Memphis 2021. I love having them because, as you all know, we are a museum and a 17-acre public garden. So gardening is, 50% of our mission here. So these tools are very, commonly seen around the gardens here. So what Mary Kay has done is taken these old rusted garden tools and kind of breathed new life into them by crocheting different aspects of each sculpture. So what I love about that is we get this kind of push-pull dynamic, okay, a really strong contrast in here on a number of levels. So on the physical side, we have kind of the hard texture of the metal part of each tool, and then the softness of the yarn, so that contrast there. We also have a contrast between the exterior, the outside work of gardening, and the interior. The crocheting is generally thought of as something, a pastime that you engage in inside. Also the masculine and the feminine. So the masculine connotations of manual labor and the feminine connotations of crocheting or needlework. So that all those kind of contrasts come together in this tools series that she's been working on lately, and I love them. I also love the shadows that you get when we, now that we've hung them on the wall in this fun arrangement and get our lights on them. They cast some really fun shadows that I think are really engaging as well. We have a special surprise for all visitors to Memphis 2021. Memphis artist Justin Bowles has created a really fun and exciting installation in the Crump Gallery right behind me. Justin works primarily with paper, and she creates really wonderful, brilliant works of art out of paper. And so for Memphis 2021, she created a special room, a special garden. It's called Bedizon Park 84, and this room is an homage to the respite that gardening offered her and so many of us during lockdown last year. I think, Memphis is such a beautiful city. We have such a great community for gardening, and I think a lot of people really dug in last year to gardening. And for her, that was her creative outlet. And what she's created in the Crump Gallery here is a pleasure garden that's created primarily out of paper. She uses really accessible materials. Okay, so just like construction paper, wrapping paper, mylar sometimes, cupcake liners, everything you see on view in this installation is something that we can all engage in. And so I think her work really is inspiring. It teaches all of us that we can get creative with whatever materials we have around us. You probably can hear a little bit of the music in the background. So Justin's friends are in a band called Gray Balloon, and they created a soundscape to accompany Bedizon Park 84. And the music is really kind of a journey in and of itself. So it kind of goes through the emotions that so many of us experienced last year. So we start with kind of this sometimes it can be kind of discordant or harsh. And I think that's how a lot of us felt in March and April of 2020. And then it goes to kind of a peaceful sound and then ends with joyful music. So it's kind of, walking around this room and listening to the music is like being on, kind of reliving the journey of 2020 and 2021. So I think you'll all love it. Visitors of all ages have really loved being in this space, and I know y'all will too. So you may have noticed at this point that pink is a color that appears in a lot of the works of art in Memphis 2021, and you can definitely see it in the two works of art behind me. They're by Joanna Moscoso, who is a Colombian artist who now calls Memphis home. These two works of art are part of a series that Joanna has been working on called the Ingrid Lopez Project. And Ingrid Lopez was a member of Joanna's family who died a few years ago. And at Ingrid's funeral, Joanna came to learn what a pivotal person Ingrid was in her community and how many lives she touched. And based on that experience, she really started taking on this project of exploring Ingrid's life and her impact in works of art. So what she's done is taken garments from Ingrid's closet. So some of you know, if you've lost someone close to you, that that person's clothes can sometimes be the hardest thing to let go of. You know, they remind you of certain times with that person, they smell like that person. And so I think these works of art, knowing that, are really emotional. She's taken pieces of her garments, so you can see them here, and stitched them together with really brightly colored threads. And the result is, you know, in some ways they remind us of string art from like the 1970s, but in other ways they're kind of like maps that show us this spread of influence that each of us has, particularly Ingrid Lopez, but you know, when you think about it on a larger level, the spread of influence that all of us have and how we are all kind of woven together in you know, in whatever community we're in, but here in Memphis, how interconnected we are. So I think these are really, you know, beautiful works of art. They are engaging. We can all kind of relate to them. And so I really encourage you to come spend time with them. I love that Memphis 2021 showcases artists that are exploring new media. So I'm standing in front of Nick Hewlett's work. Nick produces digital illustrations that he prints on high quality photo paper. And I'm excited about his work because I think it's fun. You know, I think it's, again, accessible. A lot of us kind of doodle around on our computers sometimes. And it's kind of inspiring to see what an artist can make using that format, I think. So Nick's work is also very nostalgic. There's a lot of nostalgia in his work. So you see like a class picture of students in, you know, in Catholic school uniforms, and I think that's something some of us can relate to, certainly me. And then some other works, like the one right here is called Galactic Patron Saint. And this patron saint is generally, I think, the patron saint of the past year of 2020 and 2021. You see he's wearing a mask, and he's got a roller coaster behind him, kind of like the roller coaster ride that was 2020. And then he's holding these sticks that release almost like a jump rope. And so he's really fun and something I think we can all relate to. And then behind me over here, we have a painting called, or a digital illustration, excuse me, called Sacred Steel. And this work of art represents Nick's memories of growing up on Sundays, going to church with his grandfather, and then they'd go home and watch wrestling. So some of us longtime Memphians remember, watching wrestling on TV was such a big deal. So we see here's the church here, you're in the church in the pew, and here's our upside down wrestling ring. And then a TV dinner right in the middle. So again, these are all things that we can relate to here. I like that he connects the pageantry and the theater of wrestling with those same aspects of church services. I think that's really clever and fun. And I just think these are brilliant works of art. I'm really proud to be showing them. All of the artists on view in Memphis 2021 are so nice and so cool. We've been very lucky. Memphis is very lucky to have a really supportive arts community. So a lot of our artists here in town are all kind of cooperative. They all work together really well and encourage each other. And perhaps the nicest artist in Memphis is Danny Broadway. Danny is an educator here in town, art educator, and has been working for years creating. His works of art are beloved by so many people because they take place in the past, a lot of them do historically, and this kind of storied past. So sometimes they feel like a little bit out of a fairy tale almost. This new body of work by Danny is really a little bit different and taking a step into a more contemporary setting. So generally his paintings take place in this kind of landscape that looks straight out of a children's book. But for this current body of work, we see this kind of kaleidoscopic background that's abstracted that I really love. The figures in his paintings still have a little bit of an element of nostalgia to them. So we see the figure behind us with this kind of old school type hat on, and the men in the painting behind me, diaspora, all kind of have a look to them like they're from the 1930s. My favorite work of art by Danny is the one at the end with all the figures with their hands up in the air, and there's this really strong and really effective contrast between the colors of the background, and some of that is created with like a metallic ink or a metallic paint that he uses, so it reflects light, while at the same time the figures that are in black, that are left on the black paper, absorb light, so that creates a really nice depth to this work of art that's otherwise would just be on this 2D piece of paper. And the bright colors, the kaleidoscope, are joyful. I think a lot of his work is hopeful and optimistic, and I really love that about Danny, and particularly this new body of work that we're showing here at the Dixon. I am so excited to introduce you all to the work of Rick Nietzsche. Rick is Chicago born and raised, but lives in Collierville with his sister, and rides his bike to the Collierville Town Square and records in his works of art the trains that pass by. So all of us in Memphis, particularly East Memphis, kind of live and die by the train, okay? It's the best excuse to be late anywhere is I got caught by the train. So trains are such a big part of our life here, and that's one of the many reasons I love Rick's work. Okay, so you wouldn't look at this and right off the bat say, oh, that's a train. They're really almost abstracted views of the different train lines that come through Memphis, and they're created using simple materials. So just drawing paper, large drawing paper, ballpoint pen, and markers. So how we know these are trains, the first bit at the top left of each work of art has kind of an angle to it, and that's the engine that starts the train. So this is a diptych. That means just two works of art that go together. And at the end, we go all the way over here, at the end is the red light. So at the bottom right of each finished work of art is a red light that symbols the end of the train. Isn't that fun? And the cars are colored for each train line and the different color cars that go by. And sometimes you see there's coal cars or double-decker train cars in Rick's works of art. So they're really fun and I think kind of lighthearted. But at the same time, as you stand behind them, if you take a step away from them, they look like abstract art. So geometric abstractions or even tapestries. They vibrate with the color that he uses and the way that he kind of alternates the colors in his works of art. So I guarantee you've not seen anything like this before, and I'm really proud to be showing his work. And all of the artists, I'm proud to be showing all of the artists on view in Memphis 2021. So I hope y'all have enjoyed this little spin through the show. I really encourage you to come and spend time with these, get to know these artists. The show, Memphis 2021, is on view at the Dixon through July 11th. So you've got a little time to come see it. And just so you all know, we are offering free admission to the Dixon through the end of the year. So there's really nothing holding you back from coming to visit. So we have our show, Memphis 2021. We have our permanent collection that's always on view. And of course, we have 17 acres of beautiful, lush gardens that are great for picnicking, bring your kids and kick the soccer ball, whatever, and just explore the beauty of our gardens. So that's it for our tour. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure walking through the galleries with you. And now I'm going to kick it over to our Q&A portion. Thanks, guys.
We have Julie Perotti. She is the Martha R. Robinson curator at the Dixon Gallery Gardens. She's on with us, and obviously she was the one who was amazing in terms of the tour guide and leading us and telling all those stories. So thank you, Julie, for the amazing tour. And here's a chance for all of you. If you have questions, go ahead and put them in either the Q&A section or the chat, and we'll bring those into the conversation. I also want to point out, Kristen, with the Dixon said Danny Broadway will be giving a lunchtime lecture tomorrow at noon, and then Nick Hewlett will be giving one the following Wednesday. And she put the link in there where you can sign up. So dixon.org/event calendar. And so, yeah, see, so Cindy's already, thanks for the tour. We'll be bringing out of town guests. And I told you, like, how cool is that? They're making it free to go in and be a part of the Dixon Gallery and Garden so you can see this exhibit and then obviously everything that's going on at the Dixon. So Julie, let's start out. Give us a little bit, because one of the exhibits right now is Meet the Dixons. And so talk a little about just the founders of the Dixons so that we have some historical perspective.
Sure, yeah. The Dixon was founded from a bequest from Margaret and Hugo Dixon. So the Dixons were, Mr. Dixon was from England. Mrs. Dixon had family, was born in Vicksburg, I think, but grew up in Memphis. And the Dixons moved here. Mr. Dixon was in the cotton business and they moved back to Memphis. They kind of lived in different cities in Texas, so Houston and Dallas. And they moved here in 39. They moved into the house in 41. And they began collecting, first, actually, they collected British art because Mr. Dixon was British. And they, in the 1950s, they switched their focus to French Impressionism and Post-Impressionism. And just over the years, built it's not a huge collection, but it was a really lovingly chosen collection. They picked works of art for their home that they wanted to live with every day. So they didn't really think of themselves as collectors in the sense like they were investing in works of art that they were going to sell later on and make money off of. It was more, actually, they called it an investment in pleasure. So they really were passionate collectors, but they were also understood the value of an art museum to its community. Mr. Dixon actually served on the board and chaired the board of the Memphis Brooks Museum of Art before he decided to leave his home, his property, our 17 acres here, and his collection to the city to be an art museum and a public garden. So the Dixons died separately in 1974, and we opened in 1976. And really from our beginning, from our very first years, we have been presenting really important exhibitions. So it's not just about our collection, although the collection is the core of who we are. From our collection, we have organized exhibitions that bring very special works of art to Memphis, for the enjoyment of everyone in this community. And over the past 45 years, we've really grown as an institution, and education has become a really big part of who we are, not just in the museum, but outside in the gardens as well. So right now we have an exhibition. Some of you may know, if you're here in Memphis, in 2019, we opened the Liz and Tommy Farnsworth Education Building, which is a really great facility for all of our education programs. And our education programs, I think you touched on this before the video, we start with age 1. And we have programs that go all through the life cycle, all the way to seniors with Alzheimer's and dementia. So those programs take place in our building. And in that building, we also have an interactive gallery, which has the Meet the Dixons exhibition. So you get to know fun facts about Margaret and Hugo Dixon. We talk about them, but we've never really looked into who these people were. What was their personality like? What did they like to do? So that's really fun too. And for those of you with children, it's a place in the museum where you can touch everything. So that's always nice to have too.
Absolutely. It's pretty neat too, because as you walk by, they're the type of photos where it shows you the then and now, but as you walk by, it kind of like changes. And so you can see each picture and you get a glimpse of the past and obviously of where we are now, but it's a really very creative way of doing it.
Yeah, isn't that cool? I love that. It's kind of like optical illusion or something. As you walk by, it changes, and you see how the property has evolved, but it hasn't radically changed. You know what I mean? We've really been respectful of what Mr. and Mrs. Dixon put together here on the property, both in terms of the architecture of the house and the gardens. Mr. Dixon and Mrs. Dixon were gardeners, were passionate gardeners. And Mr. Dixon had a lot to do. He was very involved in the planning of our gardens. In fact, his sister was the kind of landscape architect in charge of planning various aspects of our gardens.
That's actually I didn't even think about that. Are there any family members that are still involved?
No, I mean, there were, when I first got here, there were some Dixons that we were in touch with, but they don't live in town. Mr. and Mrs. Dixon did not have children, which was kind of part of the reason they were able to leave their home and their gardens to be opened as a museum.
Yeah, cool. All right, so this is from Rachel. How are the artists chosen for Memphis 2021? The criteria, juried. So talk about the process of curating this exhibition.
Cool. Yeah, sure. So, just to give you a little background on the show, the Memphis 2021 was actually supposed to be Memphis 2020, and it was going to open as part of the Memphis Flower Show in the spring of 2020. Well, of course, that got canceled. And so our vision for Memphis 2020, that was going to be the Memphis Flower Show, where women come from all over the country, as far as Hawaii, come to Memphis to interpret works of art with flower arrangements. And what we really wanted to do was showcase the variety of artists that are working in Memphis. So as you saw on the tour, there's all different types of works of art on view in there. There's textile, painting, of course, but sculpture, installation, drawings, and just everything under the sun. So we wanted a variety of media. We wanted a variety of artists. So their background, their age, their profession, their day job, kind of, just to show that anyone, can be an artist, basically. And also color and scale were important to us. So we wanted really bright works of art and some large scale works of art, just to kind of bring people in. And we kept that theme going for Memphis 2021. And we actually, for the 2021 version, were able to add several more artists to the mix and really showcase even more artists that are working in our community.
When you walk through on your end and you experience it, what do you hope that others similarly experience as well? Like what sort of emotions, what sort of things do you want the visitors to feel and to experience when they're walking through the exhibition?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think one of the great things about this show is there's a lot of surprise. Like the element of surprise is pretty is kind of around every corner in the exhibition. So you walk in and you're like, "Oh, there's a pink fountain that's got water trickling out." Or, "Oh my gosh, there's this room full of paper that look and these chandeliers that are actually look like plants." Um, and oh, there, if you look up close at some of these works of art, there's surprises within each painting or each work of art. So, like the trains drawings that we saw, if you look up close, you see, oh, those are trains. Or there's another one where if you look close, you can see like figures from fairy tales in them, and that's cool too. So, I think this exhibition, at first you walk in and you're kind of wowed by the color and the scale of everything. But when you spend more time looking at each work of art, you find things that surprise you and really delight you. And I think that's um, kind of a great thing about the exhibition. It's a really positive experience going through the show.
Yeah, we loved it, just being able to obviously spend the time with you, but walking through, it was amazing. And to your point, each area is so different.
Mhm.
I'm curious though, how much do the artists tell you of the storyline versus you having to figure out, because you went into great detail. And I think to me, that's probably the biggest or the most fun element of the virtual tour is that by hearing your stories now, kind of like I said, leading in is we can take our families and share those same stories, which if you're looking at the piece, it's like, wow, this is really cool. But knowing all those different layers and the subplot and the storylines really adds a whole nother dimension. And I feel like that's the powerful piece of it, is just not just looking at it and experiencing it, but understanding the storyline of what's
Mhm.
being portrayed as a part of it. And so how much of that do the artists tell you versus you just having to kind of figure out yourself as the curator?
Well, that's part of what being a curator is you get to know especially with contemporary art, you get to know the artist and you know a little bit of their story, their background. But also part of it is, I mean, it's my own interpretation of the works of art. So some of it is artist backstory, like um, I don't know, like knowing about Rick Nietzsche going to the riding his bike to the train tracks. And then another part of it is me kind of responding to it, and seeing like this work of art actually looks like a tapestry, not so much like a train. And that's part of the fun of this. I actually had a really great time writing the labels for the exhibition because some of it, a lot of this exhibition was put together during COVID. So I wasn't actually able to do as many studio visits as I might normally do. Um, but most of the artists I kind of have had an established relationship with already. So I knew kind of what their work was like and what their work was about. Um, but it was great to be able to spend time with the work and and really respond to it. Um, in writing the labels and then just thinking about how I would interpret the show for tours or just for members or visitors that come through the museum.
I mean, I just think the one like the string art, for instance, when you
Hmm.
understand the storyline of that, that one's extremely powerful because you realize, wow, that's something that we all can definitely relate to in terms of
Hmm.
losing a loved one, and yet all the influence and the bonds, the relationships, the connections, and what that really looking at that one piece means. And so I think that's a perfect example sometimes of how you can walk by a piece of art and not truly understand the depth. And then all of a sudden you have a storyline behind it and the meaning, and you're like, wow, that really blows you away, just based on the emotion of what is really behind the piece.
Yeah. And that's where, like, that's why what you're doing today is really important. Doing these tours that kind of give visitors a little bit of a background before they come see a show. Because when you come to an exhibition, I don't know, sometimes you don't have the time to read every single label in in a show. But if you go into it with a, a basic understanding of who the artist is and what they were trying to achieve with their work, it makes the whole experience so much, richer, for you and for the friends that you bring with you. And yeah, and another thing that I think I mentioned in the video was, we've been pretty good about publishing the names of the artists who are in the show, and you can always look them up. Either they have websites, or a lot of them have really active social media accounts where they share part of their process with their, Instagram followers or whatever. And that's a great thing to take away from the show, is getting to know these artists even after you've left the museum. So we encourage everybody to do that. And part of, why we wanted to do this show is introduce people to these artists, and let's help keep them in Memphis. Okay. They're doing really great work. Let's support them and keep them active. And support can mean buying their work. Yeah, that's great. But it's also like showing up when they have openings, or just even sending them an email. Hey, I really liked your work in Memphis 2021. Congratulations, or something. That kind of sense of, support and camaraderie is what makes the Memphis arts community so special. We're a real, I don't know if everybody knows, we're just a real collegial art community here. It's not very competitive at all. And everybody really supports each other. And that's part of, part of what makes Memphis 2021 so special, I think, too.
Yeah, I mean, everything you're talking about, it gives you a sense of appreciation. It gives you a sense of community, of building the relationships. And I think that's, I mean, our whole lives are about relationships. And so this is exactly what you're talking about. I also, to your point, that is something that stands out to me, especially doing all the interviews and these sort of events and things that do bring the community together. But to your point, it's a very rare thing that the arts community does collaborate and work together. You go to other cities and that's not the case. And so I think that is something very special and unique to Memphis, is the fact that the community really does work together, celebrate each other, and collaborate in powerful ways. Talk about the fall lineup, because you do have a lot of really exciting things for the fall. So give us a little bit of teaser of what's coming up.
Great. Yeah. Fall is always one of the best times to visit the Dixon, as after August and our temperatures start cooling off, hopefully in September. Sometimes it's hot in September. But this, after Memphis 2021, we'll be opening an exhibition of Wayne Thiebaud's work. Wayne Thiebaud is a California mid-century painter, actually still alive. And the exhibition is in honor of his 100th birthday. He is known for these paintings of pies and cakes and ice cream cones and things like that. So it's going to be a really great exhibition. We start having a lot of our outdoor events in the fall. So we'll be having a beer garden in our gardens in the fall. We'll be having like a pumpkin house, kind of like a fall festival theme. And of course, in October, we bring our biggest fundraiser of the year back in person. It'll be Art on Fire this October. So hope you all can join us. It's really fun. It's kind of a very laid back event out in our gardens, where we have a big bonfire and everybody just wears jeans and, their coats and vests and things like that. So we've got a lot to look forward to. And our big fall exhibition is Black Artists in America, which is an exhibition that looks at the Black artist experience in the United States from the Great Depression to the Civil Rights Movement. And we're working with Ernestine Jenkins, who's a professor at University of Memphis, on that project. So that's and it's got a very big Memphis component with works of art from local Black churches and Lemoyne College. And the Brooks, we're borrowing from the Brooks Museum for that show too. So it's a real collaborative project. And that's just part of the spirit of who we are at the Dixon.
Yeah, very, very cool. And it's an awesome event. Let us know if you have questions. Go ahead and put them in the chat or the Q&A. Talk about on your end a favorite spot in the garden. So where is a favorite spot in the garden for you?
Ooh, they're all my favorite. One of the great things about working here is I get to take a little lap around the property um, each day. Right now, I'd say it's the cutting garden. We have a nice cutting garden. All of the flowers that are in the arrangements in the museum either come from the cutting garden or our greenhouse. And the lilies right now have been so beautiful. They smell like heaven, is what I keep saying. You walk through there, it's like, it's kind of intoxicating. And the hydrangeas look really pretty right now. So it's, if you can, today is not very hot. It's a nice day. It'd be a nice day to be out there. And it's really kind of it's almost magical out there sometimes. It's really, really, really beautiful.
This comes from Genevieve, and the question is, who is your favorite artist in the Black Artists in America exhibition? Or you can just say a favorite, because I know it's impossible to pick your favorite. So who is a favorite?
Well, that's a good question. Okay, so one thing I'm really excited about showing is an artist named Reginald Morris, who was the head of the art department at Lemoyne-Owen in the early 1950s. And we're showing a mural that he did for a church that's right across the street from Lemoyne-Owen. And it's their altarpiece in their church. And I'm really excited about that. We have a great painting by Jacob Lawrence, who is an artist that some of you may know, surgery at a Harlem hospital. And we're excited. I'm really excited about showing that. It's really, really great. And also our sculpture by Augustus Savage it's called Gammon, is a special work of art in the show, and Dr. Jenkins has written a special essay on Augustus Savage for the catalog. So that's going to be, special to us to have in the show too.
Give us one thing, and I'll kind of leave things because it can be a lot of different pieces, but that you think we all should definitely make sure we see in the permanent collection. So before we leave, what's one thing we definitely have to see to appreciate in the Dixon Gallery and Gardens, the permanent collection?
Okay. Yeah. Well, right now our permanent collection is organized by color. So we display our permanent collection any number of ways, and we just kind of decided to do it by color this spring, and it's been really fun. So we have a room where black is the dominant color. We have a large room where green is the dominant color. And in that room, one thing I would say to go see is a painting that we recently acquired. We acquired it last year by Jane Peterson. It was an American woman artist in the early 20th century. And it's a painting called Lure of the Butterfly. It shows a woman reaching out, kind of curious about this butterfly in front of a garden fountain. And the colors in it are real rich and green. And in that fountain, there are American lotus that are blooming, that are kind of popping up, kind of almost like you're in Munchkin Land in The Wizard of Oz. They're real colorful and bright. But right now, you see the American lotus in the painting, and you can go out to our gardens, to the cutting garden that I was just talking about, to the Farnsworth Fountain, and see American lotus blooming there. And anytime we can do that kind of indoor-outdoor experience, that's when we're at our best, I think. And that's a really special experience for people that come.
Yeah, I love it. All right, wrap up with what's one thing that you wish everyone knew about the Dixon Gallery and Gardens. So here's your chance. What's something you want us all to know?
Oh, the Dixon is, I think, just such a special place to experience works of art. Okay, so sometimes, I don't know if anyone can be turned off by museums sometimes, just the white walls and the kind of, can be a little bit of an intimidation factor. Not at the Dixon. We have a real domestic scale to our galleries, and they're, different colors on the wall. And it's a really inviting and very comfortable welcoming place to experience beauty. And that can either, and I mean that in the galleries and outside in the gardens as well. So we want everybody to come to the Dixon, feel comfortable, feel like this is your home too. And you're just kind of enjoying some pretty, pretty works of art on the wall while you're at your home. So yeah, just come anytime. We'd love to have you, love to meet new first time visitors. And our members, our repeat visitors are really like family to us. So hope that all of you can join our family.
We're going to invite Chantal Drake up here, the Director of Development and Communications for the Dixon. But before we do on your end, she's turning her camera and stuff on, talk about again the dates that Memphis 2021 runs through. So what's the current date? And then mention again the fact that it's free to come in and view it.
Yeah, so Memphis 2021 is on view through July 11th. And as you said, it's free admission. And then once it closes on July 11th, we'll be putting up our Wayne Thiebaud exhibition, but we'll still have our permanent collection on view. And we have a special exhibition of works by Greeley Myatt, who's a longtime member of the Memphis arts community. We'll have that up as well until Wayne Thiebaud opens at the end of July 25th.
Awesome. Chantal, Drake, so go ahead and tell them a little bit about the corporate partnerships, memberships, how all that works with the Dixon Gallery Gardens.
Sure. So we have a lot of ways for you to get plugged into the Dixon. I want to start by reiterating that the Dixon is free right now. I know Julie said it, I know Jeremy said it, but I'm saying it again. When we reopened last summer after being closed for a couple months for COVID, we decided a great gift to offer our community would be allowing everyone to enter the Dixon for free. So we hope everyone will visit Memphis 2021 and take advantage of free admission this summer. But if you're wondering how you can dig in a little deeper into the Dixon, then you might be interested in a membership. Membership support helps us accomplish so much of the Dixon's mission, but there are perks that come along with membership, like discounts on education programs, discounts in the cafe and the store, and on event tickets, as well as reciprocal benefits at other museums and gardens in the country. But more than that, you become a member of a community of people who appreciate art, who appreciate learning, who appreciate horticulture, while supporting all of those things. Like Julie said, our members become our family. It's really a great opportunity to meet people. It's a great opportunity to kind of get invested in an organization here in the city. So it's a win-win, and there are levels to fit a variety of households and budgets. But businesses can be members too. Our corporate partner program supports the Dixon with their membership, but they also receive benefits like invitations to events where they can entertain clients or reward hardworking staff. And they also get marketing benefits and exposure on our website and on social media, also signage and invitations. We love our members, and corporate partners are just members on a larger scale. They get all the love that our individual members get. So if you are a local business looking for ways to engage employees or patrons, corporate partnership might be the right thing for you. So we make it easy on our website to read more about each membership and all of the things that we have going on. Julie gave a great list of what's coming up this year, what to look forward to. And so it is a perfect time to join the Dixon. So if you visit www.dixon.org, you can explore what option membership will be the best fit for you and your family or your business. And then we hope to see you at the Dixon. I mean, the world is opening up again. The Dixon is back open. We have in-person events, but we also have virtual programs and events. We have new exhibitions opening that are going to be very cool and super important to the city. I can't wait for Black artists in America. And so, it's just a really good time to support the Dixon, but also a great time to get plugged in.
Absolutely. Well, Chantal Drake and also Julie Perotti, thank you and your amazing team, Kevin, and the whole group that was online as well. Thank you, everyone, for being such a gracious host for this virtual tour. We greatly appreciate it. So we hope all of you enjoyed it. We will share this online so that way you can go back and watch it on demand and share it with your family and friends and coworkers. And we definitely obviously encourage all of you to take full advantage of the opportunity and the free opportunity that is graciously provided by the Dixon Gallery and Gardens. So thank you everyone for tuning in. We appreciate it. We will see you again soon. This concludes our virtual tour of the Dixon Gallery and Gardens and the Memphis 2021 exhibition.
Thank you, Jeremy. Bye, everyone.
Bye.